Q is a diagnosis and rehabilitation platform for the rare disease ataxia. But first, what is ataxia? To introduce you, let us watch this short video by the National Ataxia Foundation.
What is ataxia? Ataxia is a debilitating illness which affects a person's ability to walk, speak, see, and swallow. Ataxia has no prejudice. It affects both young and old, rich and poor, men and women. Ataxia can be inherited, but it can also affect someone who has no family history of the disease. Ataxia is life-altering, and many will lose their fight prematurely. Yet one of the most frustrating things about ataxia is that very few people have heard of it. So those that have ataxia spend a lot of time trying to explain what's wrong with them to everyone else. To learn more about ataxia, visit www.ataxia.org.
To recap, ataxia is a condition that affects coordination, balance, and speech. But more specifically, it's a neurological symptom, one that appears in over 300 different conditions. Imagine trying to hold a pencil or walk across a room, and your body refuses to cooperate. That is the daily reality for patients with ataxia. Let us watch these two short videos that demonstrate a symptom of ataxia, which is the ataxic gait.
This video demonstrates the ataxic gait pattern. This gait pattern is characterized by quite significant incoordination of the lower limbs, swaying of the body, and high risk for falls. Looking at the lower limbs,
the last gait I'm going to demonstrate is the ataxic gait. In the ataxic gait, the patient has difficulty in balance, posterior to jerk sideways, and the patient then has to catch themselves. Now, of course, one of the ways to bring out this particular type of problem is to narrow the station, asking the patient to walk tandem. So if I then am ataxic, and then try to walk tandem, then I'm going to have difficulty walking.
And there are many different causes, and some are genetic, like spinocerebellar ataxia or Friedreich's ataxia, and others can develop later in life due to a stroke, head injury, or even alcohol abuse. What makes ataxia so challenging is that it's often progressive and irreversible. There is no cure. The best hope is early detection and consistent rehab to slow the progression. And that brings me to the heart of why we created this project. I want to briefly introduce you to someone we call Izzy. She is a young girl who was misdiagnosed multiple times before finally being told she had ataxia. And by that time, her condition had worsened, and the window for early intervention had closed. Izzy's story is not unique. There are thousands of her, thousands like her around the world. Let's take a look at the SARA test. The SARA test stands for the Scale of Assessment and Rating of Ataxia. It is the standardized protocol or the test that is most widely used to diagnose an ataxia, and it's currently the best tool that we have. SARA is a 8-item performance-based scale yielding a total of 0 from no ataxia to 40 most severe ataxia. The scores are based on patient performance of 8 categories of gait, stance, sitting, speech disturbance, finger chase, nose finger test. 8 categories of gait, stance, speech disturbance, finger chase, nose finger test, and the heel shin slide. As you can see, diagnosing ataxia is not easy. It requires a specialist neurologist who knows what to look for. Traditional methods like the SARA scale involve physical tests that are manually scored by eye and require an in-person clinical visit. If you live in a remote area or a low-resource country, your chances of getting an early, accurate diagnosis are extremely low. And this is why we believe that democratizing diagnosis, making it accessible, affordable, and scalable is not just a technological problem, but it's a human one. So how can we fix this? That's where SARA-Q comes in. SARA-Q is a digital platform that brings the traditional ataxia assessment into the 21st century. It replicates the gold standard clinical tool called the SARA scale, but instead of requiring a specialist in a hospital, it allows patients to self-assess right from their device. Let us watch the clips to demonstrate the existing SARA's testing. This is one of the SARA assessments. And the next test is the task called nose finger test. It is also on the SARA assessment.
So I can measure about 90% of that range. And all you're going to do is use your index finger and point from your nose to my finger that's right here. We're going to do that 5 times. Okay? Okay? Thanks. Smash. Okay, good. And ready? Go. Perfect. Good job.
As you can see, it is very subjective up to the examiner what the score is given. Using a smartphone, tablet, or a computer with a camera, users complete a series of simple upper limb movement tests, like reaching forwards or performing fast alternating hand motions, if they want to use SARA-Q. While the patient performs these movements, our platform captures the data using computer vision. Then, our solution analyzes these patterns and scores them, following the same criteria a trained specialist would use in person. As you can see, our solution completely removes the subjective nature of the existing SARA scale and replaces it with a completely objective numerical scale that is judged by a computer. So, what does this really mean in practice? It means that someone like Izzy, whether she lives in Seoul, rural India, or a small town in South America, can now get an objective assessment of her motor function. No travel, no wait lists, and no specialists required. This is more than just a remote diagnostic tool. It's a bridge between patients and care, no matter where they are. And we built SARA-Q with accessibility in mind from the ground up. The interface is very simple, and the instructions are very clear. And we've designed it to be usable even by patients who may have tremors or coordination difficulties. Our goal wasn't just, it was to reimagine it for a world where equitable access to care is non-negotiable. Let's take a moment to peek under the hood and talk about the technology that powers SARA-Q, an enhanced assessment system built on the SARA for the assessment and rating of ataxia. From a user's perspective, it's really quite simple. Open the app or the website, and follow the instructions and perform a finger-to-nose test on a touchscreen. But behind the scenes, there's engineering making it all work. Instead of relying on subjective observations, SARA-Q uses the touchscreen to precisely track finger movements, accurate to 1/100th of a centimeter. And our system extracts quantitative features like deviation area, motion discontinuity, and tremor patterns, then feeds them into an algorithm based on the traditional SARA scale. And the result? An automatic, objective score that aligns closely with clinical evaluations and all delivered in seconds. And because SARA-Q is fully digital, the assessments are consistent, repeatable, and remotely accessible. At its core, SARA-Q isn't just a smarter diagnostic tool. It's a more reliable and accessible one, designed to bring clarity and consistency to ataxia care. Diagnostic tool. It's a more reliable and accessible one, designed to bring clarity and consistency to ataxia care. And not always engaging or fun. And for children in rural areas, just getting to a clinic can be incredibly challenging. And that's why we created Ataxia. Let us watch this short YouTube video that recaps the essence of Ataxia, Ataxia V. Introducing Ataxia V.
Hi, I'm Hello Wu. We will introduce our application program Ataxia V, a quantitative assessment and treatment system for ataxia on the cloud. Ataxia is a degenerative disease of the nervous system that is caused by damage to the cerebellum. Ataxia is similar to the Parkinson's disease. Some patients have trouble walking, speaking, swallowing, or moving their eyes. In some cases, ataxia can even lead to death. Although it is a serious condition, it is rare, so data and research on patients have trouble walking, speaking, swallowing, or moving their eyes. In some cases, ataxia can even lead to death. Although it is a serious condition, in order the finger-to-finger test, the finger-to-nose test, and the PEG test. The problem with these tests is that it is difficult to obtain a quantitative value, and as a result, leads to inconsistencies in evaluating the patient's condition and treatment effectiveness.
We developed Ataxia V1 to ensure that all patients were tested and diagnosed in a standardized environment, implementing the use of computers during the process to obtain the quantitative data accurately. Ataxia V1 collects quantitative data by testing and analyzing the abnormality in patients' upper limb motor control through online resources. In a 900 by 600 region on a 1080 by 1920 touchscreen with their fingers, as the system simultaneously collects the data. An analysis is performed on the number of failed attempts times the patient's finger moves out of the designated experimental area, discontinuities, reverse movements, completion time. Using OpenCV and a blue marker, Ataxia V2 aims to eliminate the limitations of the patients on a computer screen by conducting the experiment in a 3D environment, which is similar to current diagnosis methods.
Ataxia V3 was developed to not only test and to bring quantitative data, but to perform rehab exercises as well. We developed Ataxia V3 to make 3D games using Unity and Leap Motion controllers so that patients can participate more actively in testing and rehab exercises. The touching rhythm game is where patients touch randomly apart their shoulders, lifting the grip strength of your hand and the control of the patient's arm to initiate the throw. Voice recognition maze game is where patients give a command with their voice to move a ball in one of 4 directions. Up,
Right.
down, left, right, to collect points located around the maze
Down.
so that speech-impaired patients can continue to speak and practice targeted pronunciation. We are currently developing an accumulating stage on the cloud, and we plan to try clinical trials on ataxia patients. The web app system of ataxia serves as a data-intensive application, as it can be easily accessed without an expert, with a reasonable operating cost and no prerequisites required to run the system. We plan to try clinical serves as a data-intensive application, as it can be easily
Specifically for children in mind. It transforms physical therapy into a playful, immersive experience. Imagine a child reaching up to pop virtual balloons, or slicing a fruit mid-air using precise hand gestures. While they're playing, ataxia is doing two things in the background. First, hand gestures. While they're playing, ataxia it's tracking their movements in real time. Their performance, measuring range, speed, and accuracy of motion, so that we can monitor improvement over time. And that's just the power of Ataxia V. It's not just rehab, it's joy disguised as progress. So far I've shown you how SARA-Q works, but you might be wondering, how is it performing in the real world? And we're proud to share that SARA-Q has already been piloted in a clinical study at a Korean university with a group of patients diagnosed with cerebellar ataxia. The study focused on comparing SARA-Q's automated scoring against traditional assessment, and the results were encouraging. The system showed high consistency with neurologist ratings, and participants appreciated the simple, intuitive interface. Also recognized on the global stage through MIT Solve, where it was named a top 5 finalist in the Rare Disease Challenge. This recognition highlighted not only the technical innovation of our system, but also its potential to expand access to neurological care for underserved populations. These milestones reinforce our belief that SARA-Q can make a meaningful impact, not just a diagnostic tool, but as a step forward towards more equitable, data-driven, and scalable care for people living with rare neurological conditions. So where do we go from here? What if the technology behind SARA-Q and Ataxia V could do more than assess and support individuals with ataxia? What if it could detect other conditions too? That's the question we've been asking ourselves, because as we continue to collect thousands of data points from users performing motor tasks, from precise touchscreen gestures to webcam-based upper limb movements, we're building something even more powerful than a single-purpose tool. We're building a data set that speaks a universal language of movement. This opens the door to an exciting new frontier, an AI model trained not just to detect ataxia, visible to the naked eye, but meaningful across diseases. Imagine an AI that could flag early indications of Parkinson's tremor long before formal diagnosis, ALS motor degeneration, even in its first stages, or multiple sclerosis where symptoms are still vague and scattered. This wouldn't replace specialists, it would empower them, providing an early warning system that prompts faster referrals, more accurate differentials, and earlier treatment. And just like SARA-Q, this system would live inside devices patients already use. It would be accessible, low cost, and deployable anywhere on the internet. And we're already laying out the groundwork. Our data pipeline is designed to support continuous learning. Our data assessments are modular and scalable, and our platform is privacy first, meaning it's built with strong ethical frameworks around data security and informed consent. But we don't want to stop there. We envision a global AI movement screen, one that learns across borders, across languages, and across conditions. And this is not just the next feature of SARA-Q or Ataxia V, but it's the evolution of both platforms into a shared digital health infrastructure for movement disorders. With every new user, the model gets smarter. With every new movement, we get closer to early diagnosis, more personalized rehab, and better outcomes for patients, regardless of where they live or what their diagnosis might be. Because in the end, it's not just about ataxia. Rather, it's about the millions of people around the world whose condition remains undetected or misunderstood, just because the tools to see them simply don't exist yet. One of the best ways to show that you really believe in your product is to anticipate the hard questions. So, let me walk through a few we've gotten from judges and mentors in the past. First, how do you ensure SARA-Q is accurate and reliable? Great question. SARA-Q is based on the traditional SARA scale, which has been clinically validated. We're currently running studies comparing our digital scores with neurologists' assessments. So far, we're seeing strong alignment. As we gather more data, we'll refine the algorithm even further. Next, is it really accessible to people with low tech skills or mobility issues? Absolutely. It runs in a browser or app and doesn't require any special hardware. We're even developing an offline version for another frequent question. How are patients involved? Patients and caregivers are core to our process. They provide feedback, complete surveys, and even co-design features. They're not just users, they're co-creators in our project. We know the road ahead isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. Coding, robotics, or even humanitarian aid. Their motto is, we do not let our age restrict the good that we can do. And they really mean it. Current initiatives include building coding camps for foster children in the US, launching a national algorithm competition in Tanzania, and, of course, collaborating with us on SARA-Q and Ataxia V. Every Saturday, members of Voice of Calling meet online to fix computers, create educational content, and plan their next impact-driven project. From Tanzania to Korea to America, they've shown that when young people come together with purpose, they can divide the digital divide and change lives. We're honored to build alongside them. As we come to the end of the presentation, I want to return to why we started this project in the first place. For families dealing with ataxia, the hardest part often isn't even the treatment. It's the wait, the confusion, the misdiagnosis, the feelings of being unheard or unseen, simply because their condition is rare or hard to measure. With SARA-Q and Ataxia V, we're hoping to build a new reality. One where diagnosis is faster, therapy is fun, and geography or income don't decide whether you get help. We believe that movement is a universal language, and we're building the tools to interpret it accurately, compassionately, and globally. If you're a developer, a healthcare innovator, a researcher, or even just someone who cares, we would love to talk. Join us in co-creating an even more inclusive digital health future. Help us make sure that no family is left behind because they live too far from a specialist or don't speak the right language or don't know the right information. Because with your support, what started as a student project can become a movement. Thank you. And as an epilogue, medicine in and of itself is a remarkable and noble field. But when it intersects with technology and engineering, entirely new possibilities emerge. Diagnosis becomes faster and more precise. Access possible. The data we can collect becomes vastly more valuable. A world where no one is excluded from care, where treatment is not determined by wealth or location, but offered with equity and dignity. And at the heart of that transformation are engineers like you. Engineers are not confined to a single field. You have the power to collaborate with medicine, biology, education, the environment, and even art, bridging disciplines and breaking boundaries. There was a time when people believed only humans could create art, that emotion and creativity belonged solely to us. But now we see tools like ChatGPT composing music, painting pictures, and writing poetry that truly moves people. Technology is no longer just a problem solver. It's become something that touches the human spirit. The same is true for rare diseases. Their rarity once made them nearly invisible. Doctors could go an entire career without seeing a single patient. Researchers struggled to gather meaningful data. But when engineering enters the picture, rarity loses its grip. Now we can simulate, analyze, and collect thousands of data points from anywhere in the world. These conditions are no longer hidden in the shadows. And today, here we are, sitting in our own homes across opposite sides of the planet, connected through one simple video call. That alone is the proof of how far technology has brought us. To the young engineers of Tanzania, what you are learning is not just code. You are holding the key that connects all fields of knowledge, fairly, equally, and without barriers, to people and to the world. You are the generation that will build bridges between humanity and health, between justice and innovation, between creativity and care. This is not just a hackathon. This is the first step towards changing the world. You are the future of this world. And this world needs your ideas, your skills, and your sense of purpose. Thank you. Frank, I'm finished with the speech.
Very touching, actually. I'd like to welcome some questions. So anyone with any question, the stage is yours. You can ask Mr. Taxia V.
Hi, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, Mr. Joseph, thank you so much for a very wonderful presentation. And this got to fascinate me in such a way that I'm so interested in getting to engage more with you, since I want to declare interest that I work in the healthcare domain, and also looking into using AI to solve or bring solutions to a lot of problems. You know, Africa, we have a lot of problems, and it's my belief that through the use of leveraging the capacity of AI, it will help us solve a lot of problems. So my question is there any other problem have you thought of working on? I mean, the problem that is based on the healthcare, in the healthcare domain, any other disease that you have thought of bringing solutions using AI? That is my question. Thank you.
Yes, I understand. Currently, we are trying to target similar diseases to ataxia. So things like Parkinson's diseases, ALS, and cirrhosis. These things can be detected with similar metrics to ataxia, such as gait, posture, and speech. And that's why we believe that the information that SARAQ and ataxia collects can also be used to target such diseases using the power of AI. Thank you for such an insightful question.
So another question will be, are you focusing only on diagnosing, or is there any, um, so is there any other, are you also focusing on treating? Is there any how you can treat a disease? As I've seen you have presented, is sort of using gestures to diagnose that disease. So how is that disease being treated? Does it also use sort of physical actions to treat it, or can we use AI to treat diseases, some of the diseases?
In the case of ataxia and things like Friedreich's ataxia, there actually is no cure. The best we can do is physical rehabilitation, and some of it can actually be simulated with ataxia V. Obviously, for diseases where actual medication and such things are required, it would be very difficult to overcome physical limitations with AI. But in this case, we believe that some of the concerns of physical rehab can be overcome with AI.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eli, for asking. Any other question, please?
As to how we can collaborate, when we do expand on our AI ventures, we have not delved too far into that field. Maybe you could help us with training the AI and collecting more data.
Okay, so as I'm speaking, you'll be collecting your questions, and then you can just unmute your mic or raise your hand, and then you can proceed presenting. I mean, asking if you have any question or just want to present something or shout out or anything you'd like to speak to our guest speaker or any other participant, you are free to do that. So as we are in between our MVP development phase, explanation or the best description of the product that you're building, or maybe the working prototype, this phase will end in between 17th and 19th. So there is this range of dates because from 17th to 19th, our judges will be judging your MVPs and see if you're qualified or you're not qualified to go to the next stage. So after this stage ends, then we'll start the general phase of business development. We'll pass you guys through business development, how you can register your company, what you have to register during your first days of your startup. Maybe you need to register a corporate company, a private company, maybe a public corporate company. I don't know all those things. You'll be learning all the way. I'm the best registrations. So from our experience, we see this is very important for you guys to learn what exactly to register. Is it just for the start, a business name? And then as you grow, maybe as you scale up, you become sustainable and then you go to a company, blah, blah, equity and stuff like that. We also pass you through the marketing thing all the way, because marketing is very hard when it comes to startups these days, of course. And it's a very important part apart from product development. So thank you very much for participating in this event, this extended hackathon. We have a high hope that you guys will come up with matured startups in the end. Okay, any questions still? No one has risen any. Okay, anyway. So as I'm speaking, you can just raise your hand or you can just unmute your mic and I'll stop and you can go and ask your questions. Yep. So we'll send you guys an update to your chat groups, WhatsApp chat groups about the criteria for qualifying the MVP stage. After the MVP phase, after this phase ends, we'll be judging, as I told you. So we'll just share with you how you what do you have, what should you do, or what should you have to qualify to the next phase. Yeah, that's it. That's all. Any question you can ask. Any question you can ask. Any question. Okay, maybe our speaker, if you have anything to add, things to add on top of your presentation, that will be great. This will be a great time to do that. We have 11 minutes time.
Well, I guess this could be a great time to show off our mock-up of the ataxia or the SARA-Q simulation. It is actually available for everyone to test on our website, ataxiav.net. I'll send a link down below so everyone can try it out during this time.
So, Mr. Joseph, what if we try and then we realize that we're suffering from ataxia V? I mean, is it Saracu or ataxia V? Which one is the disease?
I think Saracu, or this one, the one that I sent currently, that one's for the diagnosis of ataxia. But this tool doesn't automatically have, the necessary algorithm to decide or diagnose whether you actually have ataxia. Rather, this is the primitive data collecting tool that is then fed into an algorithm that determines whether you have ataxia.
Yeah, okay. So I think when it's done, I mean, the product development is done with the product itself. I think it will be great if you guys integrate that the algorithm that to detect whether you're sick or not. So maybe most of us are suffering from ataxia V and we never know if that disease existed.
That is the key of our project Saracu and Ataxia V, to spread awareness, make sure that as many people know about ataxia as possible. Even if our Saracu test does not reach the majority of the intended audience, even them just hearing about ataxia's existence and them having it somewhere in the back of their mind, that enough would be, Ataxia V and Saracu doing their job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for this great opportunity to present at this hackathon.
Okay, so I hope some still have questions to ask, so leave that room as you're testing. And it's a great opportunity for you guys to ask Joseph. Maybe after trying, maybe you try with the website, diagnose yourself. Maybe you're suffering from ataxia, and you'll ask him right now. Yeah, this will be a great opportunity to do that. Yes, I'm trying it myself. And I pray to God I'm not suffering from that. Oh, quite a good time for the questions. So thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph, for joining us and giving us such a nice presentation. Quite liberating presentation. This presentation will be available in YouTube. Let me try sending the link. It's live right now, so sorry.
Thank you, everyone, for listening
Share
to
the
my
link.
presentation. You have a wonderful rest of hackathon and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for having me.